Hello and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to me being late and my hair still being trained. Let me fix my camera real quick. I don't know why I didn't do this before I started recording, but okay. So here we are, the second Decan of the 36 decans. I should have done this like a few days ago, but whatever, here we are. And, so we are in Aries 2, ruled by the sun in both the triplicity and Chaldean traditions, orders, systems. This one was a boring one. No, it wasn't boring. It's just very, a little more like hard to wrap my brain around as to like what specifically is this Decan trying to say and what it's actually about. You're going to get quite a few differences within both the Mary Altair of the Holy Light and the traditional Golden Dawn take on this. So let's start off with the card for the Rider-Waite Smith, the Three of Wands. So that's what it looks like. If you don't have it, pull it out. Pull out your Three of Wands, y'all, that are based on the Golden Dawn or the Thoth system. There's only like one big change in the Thoth with the majors, but that's more the Hebrew letters. Crowley just had to do his own thing, didn't he? And I'm sticking to my Majestic Earth. I was thinking of doing Tower of Delphi. If I want to, I'll pull it out later. But here's the Three of Wands here, the Three of Trees. This one was definitely much more in line with the Rider-Waite Smith. Though I do like the inclusion of, if you can look very closely, he's holding a big book. And there's this, again, probably the most interesting how I'm like, it's very political and it's just literally just the American flag. Interesting thing to note there for me. But it's clearly American. I think it looks like the United States flag, right, with the blue in the corner. Anyways, so the main thing that we got here is, well, with the idea with the Golden Dawn title, this is the French version because this coloration, I'm using that new edition that came out with the new colorations, but or the current colorations. I don't know how to describe this Thoth version, but this is Virtue. And is it Virtue? Is it the Lord of Virtue, or is it, let me look, let me check something. Okay, so I was like, I know it's not the Lord of Virtue in the traditional Book T Golden Dawn titles of it. It's the Lord of Established Strength. This is from the Ithel Colquhoun Tarot as Color deck. And yeah, this is a Lord of Established Strength. I'm like, that puts like a wrench in this? No, it lines up in a way. We'll talk about it. I didn't really look into that. I just took it on like virtue and a bit of enterprise. This is why I don't like the Three of Wands, or both Two and Three of Wands, because they look so similar and it's hard to like differentiate their meanings between the two. Usually it's shown that the Two of Wands is the actions taken, and then the Three of Wands is the consequences of those actions. It's the Two of Wands is the investment, the Three of Wands is the return on those investments, or what you got out of that. But Austin Coppock writes in 36 Faces that it is the one, our virtues, our own personal virtues, how we are as a quality, how good of a quality of a person we are. But then on the other hand, it is also the reality that we emanate from ourselves and we project from ourselves. It's kind of that, so as within, so without, in a way. And I kind of also, it reminds me a bit of the a lot of the myths where the land is connected to the ruler of the land. The king of the land is connected to the land itself. So if the king is ill, the land is also sick and ailing and not doing well as well. So there's that correlation there in old myths. And so to me, that's like, okay, our own reality that we're making is based on the virtues of ourselves and how we emanate those virtues, you know. Um, so yeah, now to get into this, so in a way, how that reads into this, I'm not sure, because just looking at the image, it's just hard to differentiate. Oh, here's the card that shows just the two of wands. It's just too two of wandsy for me. Now, uh, this here is the quality of a person that we are, how good we are as people. Um, the two of wands in the Tarot of the Holy Light gets the second decan of Aries. In the Tarot of the Holy Light, we see here two fires. One is red and one is green. The green fire is emitting, this dark cloud, and the red fire is this white shining light. So it's the dual products of uh, of fire, smoke, and obfuscation. I believe that's how you pronounce the word, and illumination. Um, and in a way, it is both vice and virtue, uh, wisdom and ignorance. There's duality. There's a duality here, which we get as well with the Marielle here, which I was like, okay, this is a very dark card, very in line with the two of the High Priestess. Again, like I mentioned before, that like cards are going to relate to each other numerically, are not going to line up. So the High Priestess's two is quite noticeable here with this darkness and this portal and these two trees here. Um, and so I was like, how is this solar Aries with in Hokmah? Uh, how is that being shown in this image of the Two of Wands and the Marielle? Here I can kind of see that with, again, the quality of our, again, either our virtuous light or our uh, viceful, viceful shadow smoke emitting from this fire here. Um, there's more to this card. I don't want to leave it at that, but yeah, um, yeah. So I was like, how is this kind of lining up here? And I realize now that there's a bit of a difference. So, or obviously there is a difference, but the difference here between the Tarot of the Holy Light and the Marielle system versus the Three of Wands would be that the Three of Wands and the Golden Dawn we could view as the product, the consequences, the virtue resulting from the trials and tribulations that we go through the Marielle and the Tarot of the Holy Light Two of Wands. These are the trials that will help us grow our virtues and create our virtues. It's what made us who we are. It's the process of making us who we are as good of people. But sometimes those trials can, we can learn the wrong lesson and not become good people. That happens all the time. Villain origin stories and hero origin stories comes to mind here. And so to look at the majors, we have the Sun and the Emperor for the Rider-Waite-Smith, the Golden Dawn system here. Let me hold this right so you guys can get a better view of the images. We could view this as the father and the child, the father and the son. But where's the Holy Spirit? Now, and here we have the Thoth. Okay, just to see the two together. I didn't really get much insight as to the Decan from looking at them, other than the mere fact of the sun's exaltation in Aries and the emperor being a very solar depiction, and there's a lot of Christian connotations to it. Just I don't know. It was kind of like I feel like I could have gotten a little bit more insight. So look at the Hebrew letters. In the Golden Dawn, we have He, and we have the sun, which is Resh, and that is the head and the light. So we could see it as like, if you combine the two, we can think of it like a head peeking out of a window, or the window illuminating the head, or what is the window, or the eyes are the windows to our heads in a way. And the emperor is that window that allows the light, the divine light of the sun, to come into us, in a way. This is a little different. The Zadi, the fish hook, with the emperor, quite a bit of a what are we doing there? But that's Crowley with his Zadi is not the star bullshit. But that's just me. That's just me. Don't come at me. Okay, y'all can agree with his buffoonery, but for me, I'm kind of tired of it. But yeah, but to go back to it, Zari and the head, I'm thinking of an earring, adornment almost, I guess, in a way for the head. But anyways, on to the more interesting part here. So here with the Tarot of the Holy Light, try and guess what cards are gonna be in here. If you don't know, without looking at the guidebook, without looking up the correspondences, without looking at your cards, try and guess what majors are gonna be for this Decan. I want you to guess. We know the Hierophant for the Aries with the last video, if you're following along. But what's the sun? What do you think is gonna be the sun? Here we have our Hierophant. What's the sun? It's the Fool. She gives the sun to the Fool for the cross, for Tav. Tau? Toph? Tau. So we have He and Tau. Cross and the window, which honestly I'm thinking of like the cross details that we put on windows when that support the window panes in a way. How that detail is very common in a lot of windows. Like when you draw, it's just simple drawings of houses as a kid. And you draw the windows, you always put a cross in your windows, right? Just to show that they're windows. And so the cross is the letter of destiny. It's the X on a map. It is where we're headed towards. It's where we're going. It's what we want. It is our goal. It is our life destiny in a way. And the window, something to meditate on as to whether like a window of opportunity or the window of guidance to show you the way, So we can definitely see the teacher and the Fool here. There's a positivity to the Fool of being free and unlimited from a lot of the structures that the Hierophant instills, but the Hierophant is there to help us, is there to teach us and help us learn how to better utilize those inner lights within us. Again, as we see with the Fool, the sun and the moon and the star. I think these three lights, they're supposed to be like chakras within us, our energy centers, if you will. Now, following with the Marielle, we don't get the Fool and we don't get the sun. We get. I might make a video on this just to explain how I come to this conclusion, because it's wild. We get the Hierophant and the World, which kind of lines up if you look image-wise to the Two of Wands. They're very dark cards. They're very, yeah. And how I come to this conclusion is well, I'll explain it again. The letters and the astrological correspondences I'll explain in a future video, maybe when I get back to my Marielle series, when I do it. But how I viewed it as is because, again, the sun is here's let me read a quote from Michael R. Myers, A Handbook for the Humanistic Astrologer. He writes, life potential is symbolized by the sun, defined and focused by Saturn, which is very interesting to note the Saturn part, because 3, Binah, the Sephiroth of Binah, is associated to Saturn. So here we have the Sun, Aries, and Saturn. So this is all about focusing that life potential of ourselves. And so here I always like to view it as very Saturnian because of how dark the card is. But as the Sun, I realize that she is Nuit, and she swallows the sun. She, as that myth of Nuit, swallowing the sun and then giving birth to the sun again, over and over. And we can see that here with the 3 dark stars here and the 3 white stars here as well, kind of orbiting through her body, and one is right at her mouth. So that's kind of where I was kind of like, okay, there's something here. It's our life sun traveling through the zodiac, which is the 2, which is 2 Chokmah, and the sun travels through that wheel and changes and evolves, and as it goes through each of the signs, starting with Aries in the Western tradition, or in Western astrological traditions, modern astrology at least. And so as the world gives birth to the sun, and we have here Babylon as the mother of these 2 halves of ourselves, of our, I guess we could say, our light and shadow, our vice and virtue, right? And again, it's again kind of the same idea reiterated here in the 2 of Wands. She writes as well. Let me get the quote here, because this is like I was like, oh, this makes perfect sense. Is the book here? Yes, it is, actually. This last few paragraphs in the guidebook for the Mariel just like kind of like solidified my idea of how this lines up with the Decan and with the majors associated to the Decan's corresponding astrological correspondences that I myself am personally layering onto it. Keep in mind, Mary White does not actually give you a lot of solid correspondences. The most she gives you is the letters for the major arcana, and that's it and the numbers, and that's it for correspondences in her deck. So I'm like, this is definitely a personal thing that I'm doing. I'm putting onto there. So she says here, as wands, these are the 2 torches that flank the temple door, the door to yourself. Into this black space is a vacuous void that pulls you to come inside, fill the space and become a star, an exalted and enlightened soul by your own hand. Tell me that don't sound like virtue and the 3 of Wands there, right? The balance and symmetry of the 2 towers is of incredible importance in our world of duality. This is the golden gate to and from heaven, perfect balance, justice, order, and judgment. Finding this balance is foundational in everything that will come after. Finding this balance is foundational in everything that will come after, and everything that will be created or manifest. So there we go. I'm just making sure. Yeah. So that to me was like solidifies, like, okay, we're kind of on the right track here. Things are kind of lining up here. We're going to see how things change in the next decan that we're going to work on, which is the last decan of Aries, which we're currently in now as I'm recording this. It's in the Chaldean order. It is Aries, ruled by Venus, and in the triplicity method it is ruled by Jupiter. Very different cards, very different takes. We're gonna see how it goes. So yeah, let me see. Is there anything else? Oh, right, the planets. Let's talk about the planets, the different planets, how they play into this. Obviously, the sun does great here. Its degree of exaltation at like 19 degrees in Aries, which is interesting because sun is the 19th card. So we have that first of all. So the sun in this deck, and whatever the sun is doing, any solar cards and spreads focusing on this energy, they're gonna, you're okay, yeah. So like anything with Three of Wands, you get any other solar cards with it, see what comes up. Now, other cards that do well here are Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury. Now Mars has a bit of like, we get that projection and again that push of our virtues to create our reality, and yeah, there might be some butting of heads with that. Mars can cause some people to argue and fight back a bit. There's going to be a bit of conflict with forcing one's reality onto others. Then we have Jupiter, which is, again, more the expansion of it. It stretches it out. It stretches out that reality to more areas across your life and to beyond those areas across your life, I guess. And then Mercury is, again, that communication, being able to express and talk about your self-reality and being able to communicate that better and share that with people. So next we have the planets that don't do very well in this Decan. We have the Moon, Venus, and Saturn. So the Moon is again, the Moon says that she has it's what we need. It's the antithesis to the Sun in some cases. Not the same as Saturn. Saturn is definitely that limiter and holds back and restrains the ego. Again, it defines that life potential. So there is, again, that trial that's gonna keep us from just uncontrollably projecting, or I guess in a way emanating our reality onto others and the people around us. So yeah, Venus, we have, again, Venus is kind of anti-selfishness, I think. It comes off to me as like how we allure people with that. And here it's kind of like, in this sense, Venus here could possibly lead to peacocking, I think. Trying to over impress, I think, to gain attraction and make connections, but I feel like that just rubs people the wrong way. It comes off as narcissistic or egotistical. And then for the Moon, let me refresh my memory on this one. Yeah, okay, so the Moon is much more in service to others. Others' virtue and reality that they're projecting out onto themselves. Copic writes that it's like people with the Moon in this decan tend to find shelter in other people's halos, and depending on whether and certain talismans can be used for for either gaining protection from a much more powerful person if the Moon is waxing in this decan, and if it's waning in this decan, we can use that energy to I believe distance ourselves and give us space. It's the opposite of that. So yeah, so to wrap it up a little more here, we have music albums. So we have that I thought of, not quite, nothing as like a hot that's perfect like I did with Mars in the first decan. The Sun in this one was like, let's look at any solar albums that I have. So I put it at I've settled down on 3. I have Solar Power by Lorde, and then Sunshine Kitty by Tuvelo. That one's not so solar in its lyrics and its sound. It sounds actually quite much more darker than that. But I guess that kind of lines up with, like, maybe if we're looking at the Two of Wands and the Marielle and the Saturnian influences with the Binah. Then we have Flower Boy by Tyler, the Creator. I was like, is this one? Looking at the cover, I was like, this is pretty. That looks. And you're remembering some of the sounds of it. It's an album I don't listen to much, but listening to it again, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be, yeah, this is yeah, yeah. So give those a listen. Listen to those during the Sun Aries Decan. Ooh, dropping my water. Dropping my water, which I should drink from real quick. Okay, so so yeah, that's what I have there. So in terms of when you're reading when you're doing a reading, and the Three of Wands comes up in a spread, of course, Emperor, Sun, look at those, what's going on with those. Be aware of any Venusian and lunar and Saturnian cards in there. So like, again, the Golden Dawn, beware of the World. But in the Tarot of the Holy Light and, well, yeah, the Tarot of the Holy Light, you want the Fool. You don't want... No, the World is a little different because that's associated to fire. That's like a philosophical, connecting, unifying fire. Anyways, then the Hierophant, and the World with the Two of Wands and spreads with the Marielle. If we're, again, following this system that I'm kind of trying to fit onto the Marielle. We'll see as we go. We'll see when we get to the last decan in Pisces. Then we have, back to keeping it to Golden Dawn though. What was most commonly used and what a lot of people are going to use with at least the Rider-Waite-Smith. Look out for that. Look out for, again, I would say, yeah, look at this card. Like one of the first cards that he said, the Five of Swords. This is definitely, again, where other people come into play with your reality and your reign and your empire, I guess you could say, and how that conflicts and fights against it, or how those work well with each other. Again, look out for any what else? I'm not sure what else. I guess any justice would be an issue here. You got to really learn to implement justice and balancing the scales of fairness and what, within oneself, because Libra likes to look at the other side of things and likes to consider the other, whereas here Aries is very me at times and can be very what I want to do, what I'm focused on and what my goal is. So yeah, so there you go. I can't think of what else. I have another spread. I was able to do another spread. I kind of like it. I'm gonna see how it goes. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. Might needs to be tweaked. But again, this is my first try at putting a spread out. So I was gonna do an Instagram post for Aries one, but I was like, no, let me just do one post at the end of Aries after this decan of Aries that we're currently in. Venus Aries is Jupiter Aries, and show that, and show the spreads all together for Aries as a whole in one post on Instagram, perhaps, and on my YouTube community tab, whatever works for people, wherever it's more available. So yeah, and I don't know what else to say. I guess that's it. I hope this was kind of informative and illuminating to the ideas and knowledge of the of the second decan of Aries. Again, this one was a bit of a I just couldn't really wrap my head around this one as well as I could of the others. So yeah, and there's a few of those, especially the Piscean ones are like, I remember reading through those and I was like, what? Anyways, so yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I go live or I upload another video like this, and let me know what else you guys would like to see from me and what other videos, because this is fun to do, but I'm like, this series is like more an exercise than uploading again. So yeah, there we go. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.